everyone, my name is Miss Alyssa, and today I'm going to be reading a story called Doctor De Soto by William Steig. Now before we get started, I wanted to make some predictions on what you guys think the story is going to be about today. So let's take a closer look at our front cover to see if we can make any predictions. I see that we have a fox and we have a mouse, but why would he be standing inside the fox's mouth? That doesn't make any sense. Let's take a closer look here and see if we can make any more predictions. Alright, so what do you guys think he's doing? That's a good guess. Yeah, he could be cleaning his teeth, he could be painting his teeth. We won't really know until we read the story further, but I like those guesses. Do we have anything else we'd like to think? Right, maybe the fox is happy. Maybe the fox just ate some dinner. I like those guesses. Alright, let's take a look inside of our story to see what we can find out. Dr. De Soto, the dentist, did very good work, so he had no end of patients. Those close to his own size, like moles, chipmunks, etc., sat in the regular dentist chair. Larger animals sat on the floor, while Dr. De Soto stood on a ladder. So right there we find out Dr. De Soto, who is the mouse, he is a dentist, so that makes a lot more sense on why he was standing inside of the fox's mouth. He was probably cleaning his teeth. I like that guess. For extra large animals, he had a special room. There, Dr. De Soto was hoisted up to the patient's mouth by his assistant, who happened to be his wife. Dr. De Soto was especially popular with the big animals. He was able to work inside of their mouths, wearing rubbers to keep his feet dry, and his feet were so delicate and his drill was so dainty they could hardly feel any pain. Being a mouse, he refused to treat animals dangerous to mice, and it said so on his sign. So let's take a stop right there. What animals do we know are dangerous to mice? Cats, good. Dogs, yeah, all of those are good. Let's see what else comes up. When the doorbell rang, he and his wife would look out the window. They wouldn't admit even the most timid-looking cat. One day, when they looked out, they saw a well-dressed fox with a flannel bandage around his jaw. "I cannot treat you, sir," Dr. De Soto shouted. "Sir, haven't you read my sign?" So why do we think Dr. De Soto doesn't want to treat the fox? Right, because foxes are dangerous to mice. Good job. "Please," the fox wailed, "have mercy, I'm suffering," and he wept so bitterly it was painful to see. "Just a moment," said Dr. De Soto. "That poor fox," he whispered to his wife. "What shall we do?" "Let's risk it," said Mrs. De Soto. She pressed the buzzer and let the fox in. So knowing that a fox is dangerous to mice, would you have let him in? Or do you think it was fair if they wouldn't have? No. Yes, you do? All right, why do you think that? Good, I like your thoughts. Let's keep going and see what we find. He was up the stairs in a flash. "Bless your little hearts," he cried, falling to his knees. "I beg you, do something. My tooth is killing me." Was it really killing him? No. That's him using hyperbole. That's part of our figure of language. "Sit on the floor, sir," said Dr. De Soto, "and remove the bandage, please." Dr. De Soto climbed up the ladder and bravely entered the fox's mouth. "Oh, wow," he gasped. The fox had a rotten cupid and unusually bad breath. "This tooth will have to come out," Dr. De Soto announced, "but we can make you a new one." "Just stop the pain," whimpered the fox, wiping some tears away. Despite his misery, he realized he had a tasty little morsel in his mouth and his jaw began to quiver. "Keep open," yelled Dr. De Soto. "Wide open," yelled his wife. So right there, what do we think the fox is starting to think about? Right, he could be hungry, and mice are food to foxes. So maybe he's thinking that he wants to eat the dentist. But would that be very nice of him? No. All right, let's keep going. Let's hope he doesn't eat them. "I'm giving you gas now," said Dr. De Soto. "You won't feel a thing when I yank that tooth." Soon, the fox was in dreamland. Yummy, he mumbled. How I love them raw, with just a pinch of salt and a dry white wine. They could only guess what he was dreaming about. Mrs. De Soto handed her husband a pull to keep the fox's mouth open. Dr. De Soto fastened his extractor to the bad tooth. Then he and his wife began turning the winch. Finally, with a sucking sound, the tooth popped out and hung swaying in the air. You can see the tooth there, popped right out. I'm bleeding, the fox yelped when he came to. Dr. De Soto ran up the ladder and stuffed some gauze in the hole. The worst is over, he said. I'll have your new tooth ready tomorrow. Be here at 11 o'clock sharp. The fox, still woozy, said goodbye and left. On his way home, he wondered if it would be shabby of him to eat Dr. De Soto's when the job was done. So here our prediction came true. He does want to eat the mice. But do we really think he's going to go through with it? No? Why do you think that? Okay, let's keep going. After office hours, Mrs. De Soto molded a tooth of pure gold and polished it. Raw with salt indeed, muttered Dr. De Soto. How foolish of us to trust a fox. He didn't know what he was saying, said Mrs. De Soto. Why should he harm us? We're helping him. Because he's a fox, said Dr. De Soto. They're wicked, wicked creatures. That night, the De Sotos lay awake worrying. Shall we let him in tomorrow? Mrs. De Soto wondered. Once I start a job, the dentist said firmly, I finish it. My father was the same way. But we must do something to protect ourselves, said the wife. They talked and talked until they formed a plan. I think it will work, said Dr. De Soto. A minute later, he was snoring. So let's turn to our neighbors and let's brainstorm. What do we think their plan could possibly be? I'll give you 5 seconds to think of something. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's see if we're right. The next morning, promptly at 11, a very cheerful fox turned up. He was not feeling a particle of pain. When Dr. De Soto got into his mouth, he snapped it shut for a moment and then opened wide and laughed. Just a joke, he chortled. Be serious, said the dentist sharply. We have work to do. His wife was lugging the heavy tooth up the ladder. Oh, I love it, exclaimed the fox. It's just beautiful. Dr. De Soto set the gold tooth in its socket and hooked it up to the teeth on both sides. The fox caressed his new tooth with his tongue. My, it feels good, he thought. I really shouldn't eat them, but on the other hand, how can I resist? We're not finished, said Dr. De Soto, holding up a large jug. I have here a remarkable preparation developed only recently by my wife and me. With just one application, you can be rid of toothaches forever. How would you like to be the first one to receive this unique treatment? Let's stop here. Do we really think that's a new treatment? I don't know. Let's see. I certainly would, the fox declared. I'd be honored. He hated any kind of personal pain. You will never have to see us again, said Dr. De Soto. No one will ever see you again, said the fox to himself. He had definitely made up his mind to eat them with the help of his brand new tooth. Dr. De Soto stepped into the fox's mouth with a bucket of secret formula and proceeded to paint each tooth. He hummed as he worked. Mrs. De Soto stood by the ladder, pointing out spots he had missed. The fox looked very happy. When the dentist was done, he stepped out. Now close your jaws tight, he said, and keep them closed for a full minute. The fox did as he was told, and then he tried to open his mouth. But his teeth were stuck together. Ah, excuse me, I should have mentioned, said Dr. De Soto. You won't be able to open your mouth for a day or two. The secret formula must permeate the dentine. But don't worry, no pain ever again. So let's look there. It looks like Dr. De Soto's glued his mouth shut. Was that a really good idea? Yeah, you can't eat him anymore. The fox was stunned. He stared at Dr. De Soto, then at his wife. They smiled and waited. All he could do was say, "Thank you very much," through his clenched teeth, and then he got up and left. He tried to do so with dignity. Then he stumbled down the stairs in a daze. Dr. De Soto and his assistant had outfoxed the fox. They kissed each other and took the rest of the day off. So that was a very interesting story, and some of our predictions did come true. I think he had a really good plan. But how do you think the fox felt after he realized what they had done to him? Yeah, he might have felt pretty embarrassed. He might have lost his pride and his dignity. Yeah, it's a good thing those Doctor De Sotos was pretty smart. Right. Well, all right. Everybody have a great evening, and I will see you next week, all right? Bye.